Welcome to the Creative Community Podcast, presented by Destination Arte. I'm David.
And I'm Mark. We're building a community of people who work together to achieve creative excellence. Today's guest is production designer Armand Serrano.
Armand is a seasoned veteran of the animation and feature film industry, and he's worked with such studios as Hanna-Barbera, Disney, Marvel, and many more.
Yeah, we asked Armand about his favorite project that he's ever had the chance to work on and which current art medium is his favorite to use when creating new projects.
We also asked Armand to share what he believes is the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of this current generation of artists. And he also took a minute to share a little bit about his journey of faith, which we found to be very encouraging. So, without further ado, here's our interview with Armand Serrano.
My name is Armond Serrano. I was born in Manila, in the Philippines. I grew up half of my life spent in Manila. That's when I started working in animation business. I'm a production designer right now at Skydance Animation Studios. I can't tell you the project I'm working on, but I can tell you past project that I'm working on, which is coming out this summer. I work at Marvel Studios, and the project I work on was the What If. It's an MCU animated series that's going to come out on Disney Plus this summer. So watch out for it.
Yeah.
That's
Man,
exciting.
I cannot wait for that show. That's gonna be awesome.
Me
I
too.
saw I saw back on your Instagram when you said, "Oh, I'm working on What If." I was like, "Oh my goodness," because they had just released some of the promo images and things.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's so cool." But well,
Yeah.
speaking of your career, thanks for telling us a little bit about it. But we wanted to ask you what your favorite project is that you've worked on in your career. Like, do you have a film or a specific TV show that you're like, "Man,
Mhm.
that was it."
A favorite project I work on. There's a few. I think I would say they're my favorite because they're benchmarks for
Hmm.
me in my career. I would say Mulan would always be close to my heart. That's my very first animated feature. That's when Disney opened the door for me to work on feature animation. So that's my very first film. Then I would say the second one that I love the most was Lilo and Stitch. That's when I transitioned from, I don't know if you guys know what 2D 2D animation lingo versus 3D. I was in layout department and I was designing backgrounds and camera setups and so those are good stuff. Then I move on to visual development. Um, because there was a significant change in the industry when everything goes digital and everyone is going into the 3D route, where my department will be was changed into digital, more like 3D. So I still want to be a designer. So the most natural route for me to go is visual development. And Lilo and Stitch gave me that opportunity to do both. So that opened, I guess, paved the way for me to move to transition into visual development, which I'm doing still right now. In concept art, concept design. Yeah. So those are the two, and I love everything that I work on. There's always something for each one, but I believe those are the two that's on top of my list.
If they handed you a stack of money and said go make something, do you have any like dreams like, like I'd love to see this come on screen, or is there anything
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, yeah. I like to make. I like to make my own house. No, no. If it's movie, no. Yes, I do. Every now and then, I still dream that if I could direct my own, epic biblical movie. A big part of my artistic life, Star Wars opened my mind into the filmmaking world, and that changed my life and kind of like opened my eyes into um that, oh, artists have a part in making great movies like Star Wars. But even before that, a lot of biblical movies kind of shape my artistic inclinations, creativity. Movies like reruns. I'm not that old, guys, but reruns of, let's say, the Ten Commandments. I
Yeah.
love epic movies. I was brought up with that. My dad always would show me. He was into movies, and he would, kind of show us, the robe, Ten Commandments,
Mhm.
Samson and Delilah, these movies, the big budgeted movies. So early on, I remember I was like second grade, third grade, when I was brought up with those movies. And every year on Holy Week in the Philippines, they shut down all movie houses.
Mhm.
Until now, I think they still do it. So everything's quiet. You honor the Holy Week,
Mm.
and the only thing that would run on those movie houses are biblical or religious movies, right? So every year I get to watch, and this is pre-internet, this was the time when VHS was just starting. So before you can rent something, I would look forward to this because they would show this big epic biblical movies that
Huh.
kind of shape my artistic knowledge of, oh wow, I can make this massively huge movies. So anyway, yeah, so I would want to make something of that of my own. The topic about David is always in my heart. In fact, I wrote, me and my wife, we wrote some stories of our own around, you know some of those stories. So anyway, yeah, that's
That's
if I have a
great.
lots of money, yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That would be so cool to see. I really hope and pray that happens someday. That would be awesome.
hopefully,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So we've seen you work with literally everything from pencil, like you used to on Instagram, you would do like your digital detox, things where
Hmm.
you're just using a graphite pencil. And we've seen you do that all the way through to VR sculpting. So what would be your medium of choice if you were tackling another project like the Painted Word? So for people who don't know, the Painted Word is your Sunday Doodle book that
Yeah.
you put together and sold. I have a copy of it. I love it.
Oh,
Um,
you do. Thank
and
you.
yeah, and it's awesome. So, but if you were going to do another big personal project like that, what medium would you pick? Do you think?
Actually, it's interesting you asked that question. I think I don't have any preference other than the only thing that would affect what tool I used is what style I'm trying to go for. Let's say for the next book, I'm trying to go for this style. But
Mhm.
the style change, then I don't have probably any preference if I'm gonna make another book, whatever I have on hand, because most of the time when I do those side projects, I just pretty much like gathering whatever leftover time I have within the day, right? We only have 24 hours and I have to sleep. So I have a family, I have my kids, I have my wife, I have those things, I have work obligations. Then I have to rest. Then I have to have a little bit of time with my video games. So whatever is left over, then I will do a project like that. And that time, the reason why I was able to do that was, I mean, the doodles accumulated, and I had a window, a couple of months window when I took a break from my work here in LA. Actually, I went to Portland to work for the Bible Project during that time. So there was a little bit of there was some open spots in my schedule, and I always wanted to do that. So I said, you know what, I'll take this opportunity. I'll create these images during the time. The tools, I'll use everything. I could use 3D stuff. I could use painted. I could put them all together and still would look like a painting. So there's no preference for me. But honestly, I've lessened the use of pencil. Not that I don't like it. That's where I started. It's just that on on my Procreate app on my iPad, I have a pencil.
Yeah.
So I think it speeds up the process. I sketch something, it's already digital, so I can just send it into Photoshop or finish it off on the iPad. So realistically, even in production, I just go straight into digital. But there's no specific tool. I use everything actually. Any work that I do, even right now, right before our interview, I was working on a shot wherein it's a bit under time. I have a little bit of window to finish it. Then I would still use my goggles to set it up and light it quickly, then paint over it.
Mm.
So yeah, that has been part of my workflow. It's like one of the tools that I use on a daily basis. Yeah.
So you've seen the industry change even since you switched when you said Lilo and Stitch, you switched to the visual side,
Mm-hmm.
the concept side. So what do you think the development process is going to look like in 10 years? You know, you've seen it go from the 2D to
Mm-hmm.
using Blender to now using, like you said, your VR goggles. You think it's going to have as rapid of a change in the next 10 years as it has the last 10, or what do you what is your kind of feeling or your idea of what
Mm-hmm.
it might be?
Yeah, you mean for my end, for my use as
I
an
just meant
artist,
like,
or in general
Yeah, for the
movies, or
industry.
I guess
Yeah.
both, really, but
Yeah.
yeah, you know what? I don't know. It's it seems like everything goes now. One thing for sure is the industry. At least, okay, if I look at it from the point of view of a designer and the ones that making the movie, technology is improving exponentially, right? You know, you have a lot
Mhm.
of tools. I mean, you got your iPad. I know some concept artists, they would just use the iPad as their tool. They wouldn't even touch a Cintiq. They would just paint everything on Procreate and they're done. You know, it doesn't matter anymore what tools you use. You can paint on your I don't know. You can paint in oil, scan it, bring it into Photoshop, then I don't know. Then as long as the
Mhm.
finished product works, that's what matters. They don't care, you know. Basically the end justifies the means. Whatever it is,
Right.
as long as you're done. Uh, so for me, I don't know. Maybe more people. Hopefully I'm trying to boost that. I'm teaching at the moment. I have a mentorship, two mentorship classes in the evenings, and I've been pushing. Not only I'm teaching about storytelling, how to be good designers and storytellers, but how to be efficient work men and women. You know, the
Mm. Yeah.
workmanship. To use all the tools that's on hand, and your generation, our generation. I'm glad I was able to get into this generation. That there's so many tools at your disposal. It's like you have so much arsenal that not everybody's using the tools. You know, there's some paid ones, there's some free ones. Um, so for me, I think the the more that we, I guess it's also a gospel, right? Gospel means good news, right? So this is
Mhm.
the good news of the tools that you have in that you can use, and we're bringing that good news to students that, hey, you know, find the right tools that works for you. And I believe if you're asking for the next generation, maybe they would be more in tune to what tools they're using, but the product will still look the same.
Okay.
um so I don't know. I mean, I wish I have a crystal ball to see what's gonna out. But I think what for me, what I'm so excited about is the fact that I'm still in the flow, right?
Mhm.
Where the industry is moving, I'm still part of it. You know, I'm not trying to. Oh, you know what? I don't wanna deal with 3D anymore. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm excited with those things. I'm excited, you know, learning, you know, new tools. I guess there's always that kid in me, the artist kid in me, that always wanted to learn how to uh, wanted to have a new toy, read the manuals, you know, and not get bogged down with how to play it, because I'm so excited how to play it and play it well, I
Mhm.
guess, you know. So yeah, I don't know. The answer is I don't know, but for me, I'm excited, you know, and I want to be part of it, whatever that evolution and technology would be in the industry.
That's great.
So you mentioned mentoring and how you're working with your two mentorship classes. You do a lot of mentoring. What do you think is the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of this next generation of artists?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's the same. The weaknesses are the same.
Okay.
Um, okay, the weaknesses of artists, I believe, from my generation, then between mine and yours, maybe there's another generation. So, and two generations after, I found that because I would have students also my age, and of course I'm gonna have I have newer students through the years. There's always a lack of, I would say, or maybe not lack, they just forget and move on, and sometimes they would forget about the fundamentals, what are the main thing, the foundations of a good design. um I think when we get so bogged down with the flashiness of the tools,
Mhm.
oh, I can create brushes in Photoshop. Oh, I can download Mark's Photoshop and I can paint as good as Mark. So there's that mentality that, I think, because of the access to information, that we can just follow an artist, and we can follow 100 artists on social network, right? And following those artists, sometimes it help us that, oh, I'm encouraged, I'm inspired to become like this artist, or it could also discourage us, like, I want to be like this guy, I want to be like that guy, and you want to be like 100 guys, which you can't be.
Mhm.
And the tools that, because, oh, I have the tools, that they're using, so it's like, I have Rembrandt's brushes. Now maybe I can paint like Rembrandt. No, you can't,
Right.
right? So but that's the mentality of, what brushes do you use, whose brushes are you using. So I think the biggest reminder I would give to my students, first and foremost, always about the going back to fundamentals, perspective. Until we die, guys, until you die, you're gonna deal with perspective. There's no way around it. There's no cheating on it. You have to master it. If you want to draw humans or characters, it doesn't matter whether realistic or they are, stylized. You have to master your anatomy. You cannot get away with it. You have to learn the rules before you can break them. You have to learn what's real before you can stylize them, and there's no way around it. So for me, going back to the basics, and the fundamentals are so essential, to become a really solid draftsman and women, or solid designer.
What do you think are the strengths of this next generation?
Oh, the tools, the handling of the tools,
Okay.
because you guys were brought up,
Mm.
once you were born, there's Photoshop in your hand. It's almost like
Yeah.
this artist, once they were born, they have a pen already on
Yeah.
their fingers. So, I remember we had one intern before, when I was just moving into digital, and we had this intern from art center, and he's amazing. He's an amazing designer, amazing draftsman. But his Photoshop skills were like, ages away from my skills. So it's funny. I'm gonna ask the intern, "How'd you do this again? Can you explain to me what's the hotkey for that one?" So, yeah, tools wise, and it's just the reality of it. You guys were brought up in that generation, so that's, it's not your fault. I think it's for us to, because it's interesting that some of my students, I have to remind them that, oh, at least I have to teach them, why you do this in why you do this texture in digital paint. It's because it's mimicking a canvas. You guys know what a canvas is, right? So, and some of them, they never painted in an actual with an actual paint, so you have to show them this is how it looks like. So this is why we do it this way, because it's
Mm.
mimicking the old stuff. So it's kind of like trying to bridge that. So yeah, it's technology, and all the tools. That's the strength. Yeah.
That's that's interesting that no matter at what point in time it's, perspective anatomy. But
Mm-hmm.
the beauty of it is as we advance, you can take all that knowledge and, like you said, if it's your iPad or if it's your Cintiq or if it's a brush on canvas, you can apply it and
Mm-hmm.
it'll come out the way you want it to if you've done that work ahead of time.
And not only that, man, we're so spoiled right now. You guys are really spoiled. Procreate, just put it at poof. You don't have to draw the grid lines with a ruler and
Hmm.
what they call those, triangle, rulers. It's
Yeah.
already plotted out for you. All you need to do is dot number one, vanishing point, dot number two, dot number three. Boom, everything is set for you. No, perfect, right?
Yeah.
And still, some artists don't do it.
Yeah. Uh,
All it takes for you is like two dots, two steps, and you got everything. For us, we have to draw the line and
Yeah.
erase it and draw it and erase it. So I guess there's no excuse for an artist not to do the right perspective. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we asked our listeners if they had any questions for you, and we picked our
Sure.
favorite one. We picked our favorite one. So, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier. They wanted to know what you did for the Bible Project. Were you part of concept? Were you part of
Hmm.
like actual animation? Like they wanted just to know like what you were able to help them with.
Yes. So prior to me helping them out, I did a workshop. I was invited to come up there a year before that. So I did a workshop, and I got it. So I got to know the guys inside the studio. It's beautiful studio. They have this, really nice spot and a really nice studio. Um, so once I got to know them, they asked me if I want to work as an interim art director. The guy who's their main art director needed a break, needed the hiatus. I think his wife just had their third baby, so I think the guy deserved a break.
Yeah.
So they asked me if I was crazy enough to you want to live in Portland for like 3 months, then go back home. And me and my wife we said, you know what, let's do something crazy, let's just do it. So I took a break from Marvel. Actually, I still did some work for Marvel, just a few hours a week, and I said, can I go up there and and help them out, and they said sure. So I went up there, and so I did. I work on a little bit on every project that's ongoing at that time. But I think they asked me to art direct one full project during my time there, but I get to work on I think two or three more that was ongoing at the time. So it was great. It was a great opportunity. Then I was working on my painted work. So it's amazing because my mind was so saturated in that subject that
Mm.
it was just perfect. When we were there. And yeah, so my wife and our youngest daughter was with us, were with me during the time I was there. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Well, we have Mark. We got like 5 minutes. Mark, do you have anything else you're dying to know?
Oh, well, um,
I'll give you 10 minutes. That's
yeah.
10 minutes. That's
Well,
fine.
I just, I just wanted to say thank you. You're one of my illustration teacher. You're one of his favorite artists. He would show us your production drawings, yours and Paul was saying. So we came up in the program hearing your name, and so I remember just listening to a podcast that you were on, and you talked about your faith, and I was like, this guy's a Christian. That's crazy. Talking about working at Hanna-Barbera and all the time in your journey there was just so inspiring to me. And then when I got your painted word book, that just blew my mind. So I just wanted to honestly thank you for your testimony. It's really been a huge encouragement to me as I've kind of gone along my own art journey and continue to go. You're a constant inspiration. It's insane.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you mentioning that, and you're welcome. It's I believe everything has, of course, everything comes. There's a purpose for everything, and just a little bit of my testimony. I got saved actually inside the studio. I became a Christian inside the studio. I grew up, with a religious background, but I never really had that relationship with God and with the Lord, and I don't know anything about. I I went to a religious school growing up, an all boys school, and all I learned was just goofiness, without the goof on. So I never really connect real lifestyle with faith until I got hired in a studio. So in that studio, an animator, and nothing political. It's just about faith. How you become the best person that God designed you to be, and I asked him about God and about faith and about the Bible. And for the first time in my life, someone was able to answer a lot of my questions, deep questions, but just going back to the Bible. So I searched myself. I even took a year off in my animation work when I was working for Marvel back in Manila, Marvel TV, and took a year of seminary because I really wanted to know what it's really all about. Maybe that's the route that God wants me to go for. If my grandfather was a pastor, so maybe that's what God wants me to go for. So I studied, hermeneutics, everything, uh, biblical studies, and that opened my mind and my interest more. But I felt like I needed to go back into animation, and I thought maybe I'm gonna be a full-time minister. That's always the back of my mind during the time. And I felt like that's the message God has for me, that you're full time wherever I put you in. You can be the best artist that you can be, and you will be the testimony in that field. Not everybody that has to go to Africa. Not everybody has to become a pastor. You'll be. It's all about testimony, living the life that God wants you to be. So I went back to animation, and yeah, and along the way I saw benchmarks of how he actually guided me until it blew my mind when I got hired at Disney. This kid from Manila, and just trying my navigate myself in the animation industry, and now I ended up in the biggest studio in the world. And and even then I thought, oh, God still has planned for me. And we even have Bible studies inside Disney. I asked permission, can we do this? They gave us permission. And but it's not something, because sometimes there's already a, how to say that, there's this obnoxious Christians. I think I, I I believe that if you really live your life the way God wants you to be, sometimes you don't have to preach it by mouth. It's all about the action that you do, the relationship that you can build, among the peers and the friends that you have in the studio. And yeah, I got to know some other true Christians also along the way, and we encourage each other. Until now, I'm still in touch with a bunch of uh, friends of the same faith, and it's not like we're trying to shun ourselves from the outside world. In fact, we love our lifelong friends who may not share our faith,
Mhm.
and help
Yeah.
them out too. And I believe, you know the love of God, the love of Christ that started in us should be conveyed, to everybody, through our actions more,
Yeah.
and to the way
Yeah.
this we speak. And one thing that always gets me is, if you profess one thing, but you have to show it. You have to earn the right to be heard. It's not like,
Mm,
oh,
Mhm.
hey, I'm a Christian, listen to me. That's where the political side of things happen. I think once you profess, for me, you don't take that word lightly. When you say I'm a Christian, you really have to show that I'm living the life,
Mm.
that's deserving of that name. So yeah, until now I'm an open book. All people in the industry know that I'm a Christian. I'm not I'm not afraid of it. I'm not hiding it. I'm very open about my faith, especially when people ask about it. But the way I share, I believe the love of Christ is just, let's be friends. I'll become friends with you, and I'll show you, what how God changed my life from this kind of lifestyle to this lifestyle, and my family, and let's you guys can join us how we can help other people too. Um, anyway, so that's my what I could share openly,
yeah.
to your audience. Yeah.
Thank
So
you so
Thank you.
much.
yeah, you're welcome. So I'm on ArtStation. That's part of my. Actually, if you even go to my website, it's connected to my ArtStation because I use ArtStation as part of my website. Basically, it's my name, armandserrano.com. You guys can learn. I haven't updated it for in the past 6 months, but yeah, that's where you can find my workshops. I have a mentorship. It happens. It's my personal mentorship, but I teach also at Brainstorm School online. I do normally I would do workshops in schools and events, but everything's happening online at the moment, so you guys can follow me in that one. I also have an Instagram. I use Instagram more even in connecting with a lot of artists and people. So yeah, I have Facebook. My Facebook, it's more for personal stuff, but you guys can follow me. If you friend me, if I don't know you, I stop friending people I don't know. But you can follow me always. But Instagram, yeah, you guys can always ask me questions there. Like my site first before I answer the question. So at
Yeah.
least there's a little bit of accountability right there. So yeah, or if you can find, remember, just Google my name. There's even some old weird stuff that I used to do will come out. So
Awesome.
you guys can follow me there. So, but thank you so much, guys, for
Yes.
having me.
Thank you. This is awesome. We really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome, guys.
Once again, we are just so grateful to Armand for taking the time to talk with us. I personally came away from the interview just so encouraged. I really hope that it was an encouragement to you guys as well. And again, thank you to Armand.
Yeah, as always, subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all the platforms for more episodes like this one. And leave us a comment or a review of what your favorite part of this show was. It helps the algorithm know that you enjoyed it. And speaking of the algorithm, feel free to share this interview with someone that you know that you think would be encouraged by what Armand had to say about art, his career, and his faith.
Yeah, podcasts usually spread by word of mouth. There's a lot of them out there. And so the more people that you can tell, like you said, if you found this helpful, the more people that you can tell, the more people, there's a trusted voice in their ear that says, oh, okay, out of the thousands of them, maybe this one will be good. So we seriously, guys, we really appreciate that. You can connect with us on Facebook and on Instagram, Destination Arete, ARETE, for more interviews like this one, as well as information about community activities and upcoming Arete projects. We've got a lot of those going on, so we're super excited about those as well. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another interview. So see you then.